So 19th of September, we are bringing awareness to youth mental health. And with us, we have Lisa and Isabel from the Marketplace. The team at the Marketplace charity has been offering free personal mental health support to the young people of Leeds for the past 35 years. Their work has enabled young people to feel confident exploring issues and concerns they have, develop new ways of coping, forge their paths to feeling happier, overcome barriers, build resilience, and not just survive, but thrive. Lisa and Isabel, welcome to Fever Radio. Tell us a bit about the Marketplace and the work you provide for young people.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It's a real pleasure to be here. We, as a charity, have been working in Leeds with young people from 11 to 25 for 35 years. So we're really proud of our track record. We've got a great reputation in the city and we provide a really wide range of support. So we have everything from a drop-in service for young people to meet with a youth worker on a one-to-one basis about anything that's concerning their well-being, and they can do that after school during the weekend on a Saturday. We also then have a range of counselling services. So we provide bereavement support for young people who have lost someone or coping with a living loss. We have longer term support for young people who have had more traumatic experiences and who need longer term counselling to cope with whatever experiences they've had. And we do something called My Plan as well, which is also working with a youth worker over a longer period of time, working with the same youth worker on a specific issue that a young person would like support with. So we've had a bit of a break in services over the summer. We had a big funding loss at the end of June and we've had to restructure, but we're looking forward to relaunching our services next month.
No, that's great. That's great. I think services like this are needed, especially for young people.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the most common mental health issues faced by young people today?
So I think we're seeing a lot of worry, a lot of fear from young people, and that many young people are really struggling with issues with their relationships. That might be relationship, friends, family, peers at school, and difficulties with education within school and colleges. We're seeing a lot of loneliness and low mood. And I think a big thing for many young people is simply a sense of who they are and concerns about being accepted for who they are.
Lisa, would you like to add anything else?
I think that those are the main issues. Obviously, different young people have different life experiences that impact their well-being. Those are probably the most common issues that young people come to us with. But we then obviously also get young people who've, struggling with the cost of living crisis. Lots of people living in poverty these days, and the experiences people have had over the summer as well. We know that many communities in Leeds have been hit by the awful violence that has occurred up and down the country, and the impact on people's well-being because of that as well.
Mm-hmm. And how can parents and teachers recognise the signs of mental health struggles in youth?
So again, it's just kind of there's a whole range of different things that people experience, from sudden changes really in behaviour, whether young people are sleeping problems, whether they're sleeping less or becoming withdrawn, maybe they've had a loss of appetite. So these are things that people can look out for with their children or with the pupils in their class. If they've lost interest in usual hobbies, or maybe seeing friends, maybe they don't want to go to school and that was never a problem before. And if they're being more quiet than normal, or there's any sort of sudden change in behaviour, maybe being more argumentative or expressing stronger emotions than they would normally experience. And I know as a parent of teenagers as well, that can be quite challenging because some of these things are kind of normal teenage behaviour anyway because of hormones and all of the kind of experiences that people go through as a teenager. But just to keep an eye out and to keep those conversations open really, and to check in with young people.
And what role does stigma play in youth mental health, and how can we work to reduce it?
So I'd say that there's been a lot of really good work done over the last decade or so to tackle stigma for all ages around mental health. And I think that stigma is decreasing overall, which has got to be a good thing. But we know that people still worry about what school, college, work, because we support older young people as well, up to 25, and what their friends and family and even their communities will think of them if they express concerns about their mental health. They're often afraid to seek help because of that, and that's something we are really keen to help overcome. It's incredibly important for people to know that all of us struggle with our mental health at some point, and that's because life throws all sorts of difficult challenges at us. So it's human to feel anxious, to feel worried, to feel nervous, afraid or angry in response to experiences, and it's just really important that people know that they can reach out and get support. And if they're struggling, and sometimes it's hard to reach out to the people closest to you because you don't want them to feel your pain. You also might be worried that how they might react depending on what those circumstances have been. So there are other organisations like ours that are around to offer that help and support, to be that listening ear, to be that trusted person. And it's just incredibly important that people know we all have mental health issues at some point in our lives. It's normal, and you can and should reach out to get that help that you need.
Can you share some examples of effective early intervention strategies?
Yeah, I wonder if really we sometimes think that maybe as parents or professionals, we often feel that we've got to come up with a strategy and solve things for a young person or do something to make them feel better. But certainly part of the way that we work at the marketplace is about recognising that perhaps the key strategy of all is about taking that step back and really listening to the young person. It's about making sure we listen without judgment, that we don't criticise, and that validation for a young person to simply be heard and know that their feelings are relevant and are valid, that their experiences are valid, then that in itself can be an absolutely key strategy. I think there's something about approaching it from a sense of the more that you can understand what that young person is experiencing and going through, then the better placed that you are to support and help that young person to find their own way forward. And I'd say that that's a really key focus on organisations like the marketplace, is rather than to provide strategies to a young person, is to support them to find their own ways of working through their difficulties. And then they're going to be more open to exploring different things. And then when they are, it can be as simple as things like looking at practicing breathing techniques, perhaps some mindfulness ideas, working alongside a young person to support them to identify maybe their own achievable goals. So it might be looking at really small steps to start with. And that can include anything from looking at diet and exercise, which, as we all know, can very much support well-being, through to encouraging interests and hobbies and other ways of relaxing. It could be something like supporting them to make a stress ball. So you're doing something practical there and looking at different creative ways. Could be poetry and writing and using all sorts of creative ways of working as strategies to help them to find their way through their feelings and to understand them better.
What resources are available for young people who are struggling with mental health issues? Identifying certain coping mechanisms, you said a stress ball or just mindfulness.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we would often say is we're really lucky in Leeds to have an organisation called MindMate, and they have a really great website that has huge numbers of information and resources that relate to common mental health issues, and also a neurodiversity hub, and there's lots of resources on there. So alongside some of the things that we've mentioned already, there are sections there to help young people see other young people, videos that they've made themselves talking about their own difficulties and challenges and how they've made their own way through to self-help booklets. So there is a huge amount of information out there, often specialised to particular challenges, like it may be self-harm or specifically around supporting anxiety or depression. So that's one of the key places that we would often signpost young people to, and there is a lot of information out there.
And how can schools and communities better support mental health awareness and education?
So it starts with listening to young people. They are the experts in their own lives, and often young people's voices don't get heard, they're kind of dismissed because what would they know? Actually, they know a lot about their lives and what impacts them and their peers and their friends. Listen to young people as a starting point, and encouraging schools and education settings to see beyond the immediate presenting behaviour, what's causing that. Don't immediately go to the point of punishing someone for being angry or upset or distressed and presenting in that way. There may be very good reasons to present that way. Talk to them again, listen to what they've got to say, and include emotional well-being and lessons. And I know that a lot of work has been done again through MindMate in Leeds to provide materials to schools and teachers to make it easy for schools to support emotional well-being in classrooms in a way that's age appropriate. So all the way through the school years in Leeds, there are resources available to help schools to do that. Promote positive role models and you can do that through the curriculum. So again, we're not asking teachers and schools to do that in a way that creates extra work. It's using the existing curriculum to, promotes positive role models through that learning in school.
And what misconceptions about youth mental health do you frequently encounter?
That feels like it's a complex question. I guess we often hear phrases like, oh, the young person's just going through a phase, or they're overreacting. And I think staying with what we've been describing, it's much more about looking beyond that and actually being able to understand that whatever's going on for that young person, it's about listening and understanding that there's a reason for that change in behaviour or the way that they're presenting at that moment. It's about recognising that a lot of it is about attention needing. And I know we have a history of hearing that very negative phrase, attention seeking. And I think that's one of the key misconceptions, that young people don't seek that attention. It's a form of communication. And I think once we start to maybe look at how a young person is responding in that way, a young person's much more likely to seek that support and feel that they can build a relationship with that person, whether it's a professional, a parent, somebody at school. Once they've got that trust and they feel that they're being listened to, they're much more likely to kind of open up and get the support that they need.
And how can we empower young people to take charge of their mental well?
I was just going to add something to the last, just very briefly. I think it's really important that schools know that they shouldn't wait for a diagnosis for a young person. A young person doesn't need a mental health diagnosis to be able to be offered support, and to be, whether that's at school, whether it's early support through communities and like youth workers, for instance, in the local community, or support through organisations like ours. We don't diagnose young people. We support them with whatever they come with. We don't need them to have a diagnosis. They just need to know that they want help around their emotional and mental well-being. Better to understand and listen to the young person, not worry about a medical label.
I think that's very important, because sometimes when you think like, oh my God, I'm depressed, you're going to dwell on that word, I'm depressed or low mood. It's more about understanding why you feel in that way and having that person that can listen to you, and it might make things easier for the young person to open up.
Absolutely.
How can we empower young people to take charge of their mental well-being?
Mental health. We all have mental health, and sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not so good. And once we remember that, we can empower young people to actually look at ways of keeping themselves well before their mental health becomes poorer, or to notice maybe the things that might contribute to their mental health becoming poorer, because it will at times. And the more we have that awareness, the more the young person's going to be able to find their own way through that. So I think then there's also something about supporting young people with their choices, and also listening to their hopes as well as their fears. And if we can nurture some of that and support them in the things that they really enjoy, the things that they feel that they're good at, and also sometimes the things that they feel that they're not so good at, and celebrate that with them, then that's really going to empower them to be able to take charge of their own mental well-being. So it might be about positive role models, being able to see those role models around them, being able to see other people in their lives that can can look after their own mental well-being, but also who can recognise when maybe their mental well-being isn't so great and see positive ways in which those people around them can actually make those changes.
Yeah, just to reiterate, seeking help should be as natural for mental well-being as it is for physical well-being, and we need to get to that point, don't we? And it's often said, but actually the only way we're going to get to that is by all of us reinforcing that at home, at school, at college, at work, in our communities, and all of those important people in those communities, community leaders, making that point as well is really, really vital. Young people need to feel kind of empowered by that and by those people that they look up to, reinforcing that as well.
Absolutely.
Would you like to say anything else to our young listeners?
Life can be really tough at times, and you will find it hard sometimes to get through, but there are always brighter days ahead. So it's just important, if you are struggling, to reach out, whether that's through a friend or a family member, through a teacher or any trusted adult that you know that you can talk to, who'll support you and you can tell how you feel. And if you need someone else to talk to in confidence, there are organisations like ours at the Marketplace, organisations that are available out of hours, so in evenings, Safe Zone if you're in crisis, West Yorkshire Night Owls that you can ring in the middle of the night if you need to text or talk to somebody, and they're all free. They've got trained professionals who can help and who will not judge you no matter what you've got to say, whatever you need to say to someone. And it's really important to talk to someone if you're feeling that you're struggling. And if you're struggling to find the words to say, you can do that creatively. So you can express how you feel through art or poetry or music or whatever it is. Find a way to express those feelings. And then when you feel it, you can talk to someone, talk to someone. But most of all, be kind to yourself and make time for self-care.
Funny they said that at the end of my shows when I'm on the radio live, usually I always end be kind to each other. And it's something that I say to my kids as well when they go to school, remember to be kind and go and smash the day. And they always, if one day that I say, for example, don't say be kind, it's like, Mommy, you didn't tell me to be kind. And it's like they panic, oh my God, I'm not going to be kind today. So it's always telling my own kids, remember to be kind to people around you.
Always be kind. You never know what people are going through, do you?
So thank you very much for being with us today at Fever Radio, and it's been a pleasure.
Likewise, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us, and look forward to hearing any feedback you get from the broadcast. That'd be great.
Thank you.